Okay, the first thing that I have to say is that basically all this comes from my experiences with the Filipino martial arts. This includes Kali, Eskrima, and Arnis. Alright, so that's my source. So, why don't we get started right away? The first thing you need to know are the basic forms. These are the forms that we're going to be playing around with. So let me just get through this really quick. Alright, I've showed this before in my previous videos. This is basic, solid, good stuff. The first one is going to be a diagonal, diagonal, horizontal, horizontal, and then a stab. I showed it many times before. It's 5 attacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm not going to put it in slow motion. It's pretty simple, straightforward enough. I think you can figure it out. You just push pause and stuff. Alright, so let's move on. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time here. The next one is going to be like this. Notice the weapon side is to the front, and this hand is right here in front of the heart. Okay, so now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Traditionally, number 6 is another stab, and you flick out the eye. So it goes, once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then number 6 is a flick out the eye. You don't have to include that, but that's traditionally what is taught. Okay. The next form is one that I made up, which to me combines basically both of the first and second form I just showed you right now. So it's a diagonal, diagonal, horizontal, horizontal. This time we're going to go diagonal from the bottom, diagonal from the bottom, and then stab. So let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Alright, so the first one had 5, the second one had 6, and then the last one had 7. Okay, so if you don't understand the principles behind the movements, then what we were just doing earlier, those forms are just movements. That's all they are. So we need to figure out the strategy and then have combat theory behind that. Okay, so what I'm talking about is, first of all, we're going to do long range machete work. For long range, that means you're going to be using this area. You're going to be striking with this area of the machete right here. Okay, so the first form, I want you to be practicing all the forms, but I'm just going to demonstrate with the first form, okay, is you're going to be striking with, once again, this top area of the machete. So we're going to be going 1, 2, just focus on that, 3, 4, and focus right at the top part of the machete. Okay, now what we want to do also is we want to maximize that area, because what that does is it provides reach. So we want to maximize the reach. Okay, so when we do that, I want you guys to lean. Okay, so as you can see, this is the same first form, which is it starts with a diagonal, diagonal, and then horizontal, horizontal. So the diagonal, look at, I'm reaching in. I'm just leaning the body in. So practice the leaning in, the 1 and the 2. You see, I'm leaning my body in, and then notice also that my strikes now are very wide. Okay, wide, because we want to take advantage of reach that the machete is providing us. This is how much more reach you're getting, and we want to maximize that by leaning and also by swinging big time like this. Okay, what the idea behind this, the strategy behind this, is that if they move out of the way, okay, you might still catch their fingers right here, boom, on this horizontal strike right here. I might still chop off their fingers. That's exactly what I want. Okay, he moves out of the way, and I'm coming down like this. I may miss the head, but I still might catch him on the leg, and that's exactly what I want. That's why I'm going to go from all the way up here, all the way down here. So my strike's going to go cover a long range. So it's not just about this, the distance this way, it's also about vertical and horizontal distance, really taking advantage of the reach. Now every time I do that, am I vulnerable? Yes, I'm going to be vulnerable. That's why we also practice it right here. 1, 2. That's why I asked you to just do it right here, still focusing on the front part, but we're keeping the movement here. 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now do it with reach, okay? Lean in. 2, wide arcs, wide. So you should be able to combine them both together, okay? The difference is, when do you switch from one to the other? that's going to require timing. Timing cannot be developed from this video. You have to develop it through sparring. Okay, so the next technique that we want to get into, all right, is to become an expert with a machete. We want to be able to use every aspect of this weapon, okay, every area to our advantage. And of course we have the side and we have the back, but those are usually used for defense, okay. What we're going to do now is, now that we focused on the top part right here, focusing on reach, long range fighting, what we're going to do is now focus on this area down here of the blade edge. And this area now is for close range. A lot of people think machete is only for long range distance fighting, and they're wrong. This machete is actually devastating in close range, okay? So the form is going to be exactly the same as what we did before. Alright, so we're just going to do the diagonal, diagonal, horizontal, horizontal, and stab. And I want you to practice this stuff with all the other forms and put in the time. But to keep things simple, I'm just going to demonstrate with that first form. Alright, so what you're going to be doing now is, because you're aiming with this part right here, this is close quarters. So what you have to do is, the first one is a diagonal, diagonal. We're going to take a step forward and do that diagonal strike. We're closing in on the enemy. So when we do that, this is probably going to hit, like, let's say the collarbone area. If their arm's up, we're going to be cutting on the arm. But with this part first, this is aiming right there. As we do that, we take that step, and then we have to take a step back to draw. And that's a very, very deep cut. Okay, so number two, same thing. Diagonal from the other side, you're going to take that step in and then step back. Okay, horizontal, same thing. Step in and step back. Step in, step back. Your stab's going to be the same. It doesn't really apply to the stab. Okay, so once again, step, step back. Okay, step, step back. Step, step back, step, and step back. And then stab. Alright, if you notice, I used wrist fortification right there. And you could do the same. Alright, so far I covered striking with this area right here at the top, which is distance range fighting, okay? And then we talked about using this lower part right here, which is close range fighting for deep cuts, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about medium range fighting. Medium range fighting doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be using the middle area of the machete. We're still going to be using up here, okay? We're still going to be using up here, but the range, fighting wise, combat range, is medium range. And medium range is a little bit unique because the way we're going to be striking is different, okay? Just like the other two were different from each other, this one's going to be different as well. The idea here is we are going to be hacking. So if you go up to a tree and you attack with medium range, basically the hacking attack, this machete should stick. That's what we're looking for. So for those of you that want to test it out on target, on an actual target, and see what it's like, that's what we're going for. This should stick, okay? So for that, the striking system's a little bit different, the form's different, so let's start off. This is the starting position right here. Okay, notice weapon side to the front. From here, you're going to hack right here. So this should stick, okay, and we're going to park it back here. So always park it back to the number one position. So this is your number one strike, and boom, park it back right here. Number two is going to be from over here. So we could do the number one and bring it to number two position over here. This is your number two strike, this position, bam, bam, and this should stick if it was a tree that I was hitting. Okay, so from here, I bring it back to number one. Always bring it back to number one. Okay, so from right here, number three position is going to be right here, horizontal. So I'm going to go number one and bring it right here to the horizontal position right here. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. Hack right there. Okay, so after you do that, always park it back to the number one position. So from right here, next is, this is number one, number two, number three is a horizontal, number four is horizontal on the other side. From here, you could bring it back to here. Okay, so this is where we're going for. This is the number four horizontal. It's a hack right there, and always park it back to the number one position. From here again, now we're going to go number five, which is diagonal. It's down here on this side. Okay, so we go from number one, you're going to bring it all the way down like this, and this is it. We're going to be hacking this way. So this is going to stick someone in this area right here. Bam, you stick the machete into them like that. Okay, so from here, bring it back to the number 1 position. And now the final position is a hack from the bottom diagonal on the right side. So from here, just bring it to here. Okay, so from the bottom angle right here. This is a sneaky angle right here. We'll whack, and this should stick once again and park it back up here. So again, from number 1 position, okay, you can bring it here. Number 2 position, okay, let's bring it back to the number 1 position right here. Now it's horizontal, boom, on this side, bring it back to the number 1 position, okay. Now horizontal on the other side, bring it back to the number 1 position. Now from here, we're going to bring it to this bottom position right here, bam. Hack this way at this angle, okay, and bring it back to the number 1 position. And now we're going to hack from this angle right here and park it back to the number 1 position.